welcome to our channel Knowledge of. Friends, subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon for the latest update. आज हम लोग डेटा वेयर हाउसिंग एंड डेटा माइनिंग की क्लास करने वाले हैं, जो कि क्लास नंबर आपका 12 है। ऑलरेडी हमने 11 क्लासेस कर लिया है, जिसमें अगर हम बात करते हैं तो हमने यूनिट 1 कंप्लीट कर लिया है, यूनिट 2 कंप्लीट किया है, यूनिट 3 कंप्लीट किया है एंड एज वेल एज हमने यूनिट 4 कंप्लीट कर लिया है। एंड नाउ विल गो अहेड विद यूनिट 5, जो कि हमें ऑलरेडी लास्ट क्लास तक स्टार्ट कर चुके हैं, जो कि आपका यूनिट 5 है, डेटा विजुअलाइजेशंस एंड ओवरऑल पर्सपेक्टिव, जिसमें हमने 20 to 30% ऑलरेडी कंप्लीट कर लिया है। नाउ इन द डेटा विजुअलाइजेशन एंड ओवरऑल पर्सपेक्टिव we'll have to continue with this. And the first of all, it's a huge request from my side to all the viewers, please go through with the subscribe button and please like, share and subscribe our channel so that many and maximum people can get the information at once, and even though you can also enjoy the video as well. Let's start with the topic that what we have to discuss here with the first topic, that is to explain the term tuning the data warehouse. So here we'll go ahead with the first heading, that what we have to discuss is, that is your tuning the data warehouse. So tuning the data warehouse in the terms of it, that is the first topic we have to discuss. And the question has been asked, explain the term tuning the data warehouse, which is the that has been asked of 5 marks here. In the tuning of the data warehouse, that can be done to improve the performance, and the data warehouse is the entry point into the system. It provides the first opportunity to improve the performance, and if the clock are performed on the data warehouse system either before or after the data that is loaded, then it will have a direct effect on the capacity and the performance of the system. For example, if the data is is a telephone call record, it may be checked that each call here that a valid customer identifier, and if the data is sale information, then it may be checked that whether the commodity being sold has a valid product identifier as well. And leading the large quantities of a data or doing a heavy input output operation that can be CPU intensive, and of course that when there are a lot of checks and transformations to be applied to each record, and the load speed that can be improved by using the direct load technique as well, and it can also be improved by using parallelism, and that is the following are the steps which provides the best method for tuning data warehouse. The first we have is that the tune the business rules, as well as the second we can say that in the same terms, that is the tune the data design, even though the tune the application design, and tune the logical structures of the database, tune the database operations, tune the access path, tune memory allocation, tune input output and physical structure, tune resource contentions, and tune the underlying platform. So they are the 10 steps which provides the best method for the tuning a data warehouse here. Here we'll go ahead with the topic, and that what we have to discuss is to write a short note on a testing data warehouse, which is very important topic, because this has been asked 7 times in the examination paper of 5 marks, so which is very important. You can go through with that, and this is this particular question having a more chance that it will be asked here. So the first will go ahead here is asked in the form of testing data warehouse. In the same case for the testing data warehouse here, that is write a short note on the testing data warehouse, which has been asked, as I told you about many times here in the 5 marks question paper. In this, that the testing of the data warehouse that checks the quality of the data, such as the data completeness, to ensure that all the expected data is loaded, and the data transformation to ensure that all the data is transformed correctly according to the business rules or design specifications. Testing the data warehouse operational environment is another key set of the test that will have to be performed, and following are the numbers of the aspect that need to be tested, that is the security. In the reference towards the security here, that security which is difficult to test unless it is clearly documented, but it is not allowed to reveal all the information as well. If there is a separate data warehouse security document, the testing that should be relatively straightforward matter of the extract the list of the disallowed operations, and that is devising a test for each. And this is a set of tests that should run several times during the system testing to ensure that newly added data that does not break the constraints of security as well. In the second way, we'll talk about it, which is the during the system testing, that the disk configuration that should be used, that is tested thoroughly to identify any potential input output bottlenecks here. And in the same cases, the third we have that the control to control the daily operations of the data warehouse, some scheduling software is required, and this needs to be tested thoroughly during the system testing as well. And the scheduling software will need the scheduler to control the over processing and management of the aggregation. And following are the various challenges for the testing data warehouse, and which were as to be follows, like data selections from multiple source system, volumes and complexity of the data, inconsistent and redundant data in a data warehouse, and non-availability of the comprehensive test as well. Where in the same cases, the data warehouse testing responsibilities, if I'm talking about here, in that responsibilities that is comes under in it, and which is the business analyst that gather the document requirement, that is your QA testers, that the QA testers develop the execute test plans and test scripts, and infrastructure people that set up the test environments as well. Even though the developers that perform unit test of their deliverables, and of course the DBAs test for the performance and stress as well, and business users that perform the functional tests including the user acceptance tests as well. Where we'll talk about some of the things that is in relatively, which is in a detail as well, and that is comes under the web mining. And in the web mining, that the web mining aims at finding and extracting the relevant information that is hidden in a web related data, and to be either particular in a text document that is published on the web. And it is divided into the three sub areas, which is the first we have is your, that is your web content mining, the second is your web structure mining, and the third is your web usage mining. In this, that the crawlers, we'll talk about the crawlers as well. And in that crawlers here, in the crawlers, that it is in a program which traverses the hypertext structures in the web, and in the same cases that the page started in the crawlers is called a seed URL as well. Where in the same case we'll talk about the harvest system as well. It is a set of the tools that facilitate in gathering of information from the diverse source, and it is an approach based on the catching, indexing and crawling as well. And talking about, we'll talk about the algorithm in a web mining, that the first algorithm is your sequential pattern, second is your maximal frequent sequence, maximal forward sequence, and of course HITS, which is hyperlink induced topic search as well. We now will go ahead with the detailed about it, and that is to discuss about what are the types of warehousing applications. So types of warehousing application, we'll go ahead here. Types of warehousing application. So there are many, we'll discuss one by one in a detail here. And that is, the first we have is your finance or banking, the second is your healthcare, third is hospitality, insurance, manufacturing and distributions, retailers, that we'll discuss about it here. So first of all, we'll go ahead with the first topic, and that is the first type of warehouse application, which is your finance and banking. In finance and banking, if I'm talking about, that is to evaluate the business concentrations and risk exposure leading to the modified credit policies and the loan loss reserves and the consumer asset data. The second is the spot market trends, government regulation reporting and marketing as well, that comes under the finance and banking. The second is your healthcare. In the healthcare, that is your financial, clinical, strategical and outcomes data, helps measures and track and analyze how well the hospital is providing services, report on percentage of patients that being fed intravenously, compare physicians to peer group on how long his patients occupy a bed and the cost surgery by physician. Finance department that gets statistic by the patient type, revenue code and insurance carrier, what percentage of the hospital billing that are from Medicare, Medicaid, Medicaid as well, and each major insurance company, as well as the ability to track the cost and cut cost and aspects that manage resources from the effectively, that is your to provide the feedback to the physicians that regarding the outcomes and the cost of the realizing these outcomes as well. The third we have is your hospitality. In the hospitality, that is your of course comes under the hotels, car rentals, timeshares, cross band promotions like target customer with the promotional offers tailored to their demographics and travel patterns, estimate response to the promotions and product through the demographic analysis as well. The fourth week comes under across, that is the insurance. In the term of insurance here, that is to incorporate the both internal and external data, that is the information on the competitor and the insurance industry trends, forecast and monitor changes in the industry, thereby allowing a better positioning in the marketplace, identify the characteristics of profitable business, as well as to analyze the information related to the retention of business that are renewable, including pattern of customers who do not renew, as well as the determine the reasons why and resolve issues that will assist in retaining value client as well, and the accurate consolidated view of customer portfolios and analysis of what that is profitability by the customers, product and geography and sales hierarchy as well, and as well as analysis of the sales officers for the profit and loss as well. Now I'll discuss another one, which is your manufacturing and distribution. In manufacturing and distribution, that to analyze the emerging business trends, examine product booking, determine product shipments, backlogs and cancellations, better manage product portfolio, better manufacture forecasting, earlier detections of warning conditions, ability to eliminate the products from the portfolio, allow product manager to more quickly identify product lines that are not longer required for portfolio or portfolio as well, and that is the information above margins, that product backlogs and historical sales data to the critical decision as well as the visibility to its customers on an individual customer level, that what product the company sells and where it sells and the product at what price point as well, that comes under in it, that is your the manufacturer and distributors distributions as well. Now we'll talk about the another one, which is your retailers. In terms of the retailers here, and in the case of the retailers, that comes under the sales analysis, target marketing, card holder base, and evaluate technician training, evaluate maintenance tools and equipment inventory, that comes under in it, and that is your types of warehousing application, which is finance and banking, healthcare, hospitality, insurance, manufacturing and distributions, and retailers. These were the 6 types of warehousing applications we have. Now we'll discuss about the web mining here in a detail. So what is web mining in that same cases? Web mining is similar to the data mining, which is a multidisciplinary effort that draws a techniques from the fields like information retrieval, statistics, machine learning, NLP, etc. As well as web mining is usually divided into the following areas, and these areas were classified into the first we have as your, that is web content mining. The second we have here is your web structure mining. And the third we have, that is your web usage mining. In a web mining, which has been divided into 3, as I told you, web content mining, web structure mining, and web usage mining. in that same cases, web content mining that it is, and has been divided into two, which is your web page content mining and a search result mining here. But in a web usage mining, which is also been divided into two, which is a general access pattern tracking, and the second is that the customized usage tracking. You can write it down. This is in a taxonomy of the web mining here. Repeated that web mining has been divided into three, which is your web content mining, web structure mining, and web usage mining. In a web content mining, this has been divided into two, which is your web page content mining and search result mining. And in this has been the same only, the web structure mining, and that web usage mining is also been divided into two, which is a general access pattern tracking and a customized usage tracking as well. Now we'll go ahead with the another one, that what we have to discuss here, the another topic, which is what do you mean by web content mining. Now we'll discuss web content mining in a detail here. So in a web content mining, if I'm talking about here in this, web content mining that can be assumed as an extending the work performed by a basic search engine, and a web content mining goes beyond the IR technology, and basic content mining is a type of a text mining and more traditional mining operation that involves the keyword of searching, similarities measures, and clustering and classification as well. In the same case, the many web content mining that activities have centered around the techniques to summarize information found, and one problem associated with a web document is that they are structured as a traditional database, and there is no schema or division into attributes, and usually web pages are defined to using HTML only, that is your keyword, term association, similarity search, classification, clustering, and natural language process. That is a text mining hierarchy that we have here. Now we'll discuss about the another one, which is your crawlers, and what are crawlers, or what are harvest system, and that what we'll discuss in a detail, because these were the new topics that many of you not known, are not familiar with that as well. So crawlers, what are crawlers here? That a crawlers, that is a robot or a spider, is a program that travels the hypertext structures in the web, and the pages that started by crawlers are known as to be seed URLs, and all the links from the starting page and recorded and saved in a queue, and a crawler may visit a certain number of pages and then stop and build an index and replace the existing index, and this type of a crawler is called a periodic crawler. And incremental crawler that selectively searches the web and updates only the index incrementally, that is as opposed to replacing it as well. Now I'll talk about the other one, which is your harvest system. In the harvest system, they can ask you about write a short note on crawlers in the harvest system. So in the harvest system, that it is based on the use of the catching, indexing, and crawling, and harvest is a set of the tools that facilitate the gathering of information from the diverse source, and the harvest indices that are topic specific as a broker, and this is used to avoid the scalability problem found without this approach. And the harvest gather use the Essence system to assist in collecting data. Essence classifiers document by creating an index called semantic index, and semantic indexing creates various types of information for different files and then creates indices on this information as well. In the same cases, if I'm talking about the crawler, that has been, what is a focused crawler, they can ask you about it and explain its uses in the brief. The focused crawlers, if I'm talking about here, focused crawlers. In the focused crawlers, that is the focused crawlers is a crawler that visits the page to the topic of interest, and a focused crawler is represented that the shaded boxes that will represent the page as that they have visited the thousands of focused crawlers, and that is more of the web that can be covered than it's the traditional crawlers, and this facility is better scalability as the web grows. And a focused crawlers consist of the three components, which which is a major piece of architecture, is a hypertext classifier that associates a relevance score for each document with respect to the crawl, and a distiller determines which pages contain the link to many relevant pages, and these are the hub pages as well. And the crawlers performs the actual crawling on web, and the pages are found by a priority basis, that structure that governed by the classifier and the distiller as well. In the regular crawling, that goes from one by one, and that is in the focused crawling, that the focused one they are crawling here. The crawler perform that the actual crawling on the web, and the pages its visits are determined by a priority based structures that is governed by the priority associated with the pages by the classifier and the distiller as well. And in the same case, the performance object for the focused crawler is a high precision rate or a harvest rate. And to use the focused crawlers, the user first identifies some sample document that are of the interest, and while the user browser on the web page as well, and he identifies that the document that are of interest, that there are then classified based on the hierarchical classification tree and codes in the tree that are marked as good, and thus indicating that this node in the tree that has associated with it a document that are of interest as well. And in the same cases, we can say that these documents are then used as the seed document that to begin the focused crawling, and during the crawling phase as relevant document are found, and it is determined whether it is a worthwhile to follow the links out of these documents, and each document is classified into a leaf node of taxonomy tree, and one proposed approach hard focuses that follows the links if there is an ancestors of this node that has been marked as a good. So another technique that the soft focus and identifies the probability that page D is relevant for that it would be representing in the form of, for the crawlers I will just write it down here, good. See, it is P C I T here. So in this, that here C is the node in the tree that does the page, and a good C is the indication that it has been labeled to be of interest, and the priority of visiting the page not yet visited in the maximum of the relevance of the pages that has been visited, and a point to point as well. And the hierarchical classification approach that uses a hierarchical taxonomy and a naive based classifiers, and a hierarchical classifier that allows a classification to include the information that contained in the document as well as the other document that near it, and it is like a linkage structure, we can say that. And that the objective is to classify a document D that to leave a node C in the hierarchy with the highest posterior probability, which is P C by D, and that is based on the statistics of training set. Each node C is a taxonomy has a probability, and the probability that has a document that can be generated by the root topic, that is node which we can say that node C1, and obviously is 1. Suppose C1 till CK here, that is equals to C, that be the path from the root node to the leaf, that is C here. So we can say that here PC RID PCI minus 1 by D PCI CI minus 1 comma D here. So that is using the Bayes rules, we can say that I minus D equals to P Ci by Ci minus 1 P D by Ci upon, which is S is a sibling of Ci, and that is S is sibling of Ci, and that is P D by S. So here P D by C, that is found using a Bernoulli's model, in which a document is seen as a bag of words with no order, that has been represented here. Now we'll go ahead with other one, and that what we have to discuss about it, what is CFC approach. So CFC approach here In the CFC approach, CFC is the full form we have for the CFC is your context focused crawler. Context focused crawlers. In the context focused crawler, which is a context focused crawler, that it uses a context graph, which is a rooted graph in which the root represents the seed document, and end nodes at each node that representing the page that have links to the node at the next higher level, and the number of the levels in the context graph is to be detected by the user, which is the seed document, then level 1 document, level 2 document, level 3 document. That is the context graph, which we have in a form of a tree structure here. Now we'll discussed about another one, which is what is virtual web view and personalization. Explain in context to the web context mining. So we'll discuss virtual web view. Virtual web view here, that it is an approach to handle the large amount of somewhat constructed data on the web, and it is used to create a multiple layered database, which is MLDB, on the top of the data in the web, and the database is that massive and distributed, and a view of MLDB is called virtual web view, which is VWV, and that is a data mining, web data mining, that query language, that WebML is proposed to provide the data mining operations on MLDB, and which WebML is an extension of DMQL, and a major features of a WebML are four primitive operations, and the four primitive operations we have, which it is your covers, the second is your covered by, the third we have, which is like, and of course the fourth we have close to. So in this, for example, select from the document in www.com, that is iq.edu. So these were that is your one of the keywords covers cat here. Now we'll talk about the personalization. In personalization, that the personalization is also one of the example of the web context mining, and the personalization that allow web access to the content of the web page that are modified in a better way of according to the user, and with the personalization, advertisement that to be sent to the potential customers are chosen and based on a specific knowledge concerning the customers, and personalization may be performed on target web pages, and the personalization is almost the opposite of targeting as well. Personalization that can be viewed as a type of a clustering, classification, or even prediction, and there are the three basic types of the web page personalization. The first is the manual technique that perform personalization through the user registration preferences. The second is the collaborative filtering, accomplishes the personalization by the recommending information, and of course the third is your context based filtering that retrieves the pages based on the similarity between them and the users as well. Now we'll discuss about the another one, which is about what is web structure mining, and explain the page rank. So here we'll go ahead with this. So in a web structure mining and a page rank here, first we'll discuss about the web structure mining, which is a web structure mining that can be viewed as a creating a model of the web organization, and this can be used to classify a web page or to create a similarity measure between the document as well. In the terms of the page rank here, that the page rank technique that was proposed to both to increase the effectiveness of the search engines and to improve their efficiency, Page rank is used to measure the importance of the page and prioritize the page that returned from the traditional search engine using the keyword searching, and the page rank value for a page is calculated based on the number of the pages that point to it, and this is actually a measure based on the number of the backlinks to the page, and a backlink is a link printing to a page rather than pointing out from the page as well. Here given a page like P, that we use B of P, and that to be a set of the pages that to be point P1, and of course the FP that to be a set of links out of P here. And in the same cases, the page rank of the page P that is to be defined here is to be as follows as well, where we are using this one with the reference towards it, and that is represented by like PR P C sigma B, which is PR Q upon N of Q. So where NQ is your mod of FQ, and that the constant C is a value between 0 and 1 and is used for the normalization, where a problem that called a rank sync that exists with this page rank calculation that it is followed here, and that is that the rank calculation is that when a cyclic reference occurs, page A that points to the page B and a page B points to page A, and the PR value of these pages increases, and this problem is solved by adding an additional that is terms to the formula as well, and that has been represented by PR dash P equals to C, Q equals belongs to B E PR of Q NQ plus C E of V here. So where C is maximized, and here E of V is a vector that adds an artificial link, and this simulates a random surfer, and that is a surfer that whose periodically decides to stop following the links and jump to a next page, a new page, which is of E of V, that adds links of small probabilities, and that is between every pair of nodes. And the page rank technique is difficult and different from the other approaches that look at link, and it does not count all links the same, and the values that are normalized by the number of links in the pages as well. We'll go ahead with other one, which is the write a short note on Clever, and also write HITS algorithm. So that will do it. So first we'll discuss about Clever. And HITS algorithm. So here in the Clever and HITS algorithm here, that what we'll have to discuss here. In the same cases for the Clever one, that is the Clever is one of the recent system developed at IBM, and which focuses at finding both authoritative page and hubs. And a hub is a page that consists linked to the authoritative pages, that the Clever system identifies authoritative pages and a hub page by creating a weights. And in addition, some pages might be of higher quality than others, and these pages are often referred to as being the most authoritative as well. Talking about the HITS algorithm, the full form of HITS we have here is your hyperlink induced topic search. That is here that finds hub and authoritative page. It consists of the two components. That the first component is that is based on the given set of keywords and a set of relevant pages found. The second is that hub and authoritative measures that are associated with these hub pages, and the pages with the highest value that are returned here. The input is W, small q and small s. So in the W, which is www, that is viewed as a directed graph. Q is a query and S is a support. So we'll find it out as an output here. In the same cases where A and H, and that is your the set of authority pages, and H is your set of hub pages. And in the same references that will go and link to the pages of R as well, and that will find it out as in the form of an algorithm that will going to do it here. So in the same cases, now we'll discuss about more in detail about explain web usage mining and its rules as well. Web usage mining and its rules. So here that the web usage mining, that performances mining, that performs mining on a web usage data or a web logs, and a web log is a listing of page reference data, and sometimes it is also called a click stream. And a data here, that is because that data because each entry corresponds to a mouse click. And a web usage mining that can be of for the many uses purposes, which is the activities of a web usage mining. We'll talk about it here. Activities of web usage mining. So here with this, that the first is the pre-processing activity that center around reformatting the web log data before processing. So the first is your pre-processing. In pre-processing, that the web usage log probably is not in a format that is usable and by mining application. As with any data that to be used in the mining application, the data may need to be reformed and cleansed, and there are some issues specifically related to the use of the web logs, and that steps include in processing phase include cleansing and user identification, session identification, path completions, and formatting as well. With the detailed about it, the another we have your data structure. We'll talk about data structure here as well, which is there's several unique data structures that have been proposed to keep the track of the pattern identified during the web usage mining process. And a basic data structure that is used in a call tree here, and a tree is a rooted tree where each path from the root to a leaf represent a sequence, and trees are used to store strings from the pattern matching application, and the only problem is the tree in space requirement as well. We'll talk about the another one, which is the another activity is your pattern discovery. In the pattern discovery here, With the same cases of the pattern discovery here, that the most common data mining, the technique that used on the clickstream data is that of uncovering the traversal pattern. And a traversal pattern is a set of pages that is visited by a user in a session. And the other types of the pattern that may be uncovered by a web usage mining, and the patterns that found using a different combination, which are used to discover the different features and for the different purposes as well. In the same cases, we'll talk about the another one, which is your pattern analysis as well. In the pattern analysis here, where when a pattern are discovered, they must be analyzed to determine how that information that can be used, and some of the patterns that may be deleted and not determined that to be the interest here. And in the same cases, that the pattern analysis is the process of that is looking at and interpreting the results of the discovery activities, and it is not necessary that to be identify a frequent types of traversal pattern, but also to identify the pattern that are of interest and because of their uniqueness or the statistical properties as well. We'll talk about it, that is the issues in web usage mining. In the issues in web usage mining, the first issue we have is that the identification of the exact user in is not possible, and it is difficult to uncover the sequence of pattern that the user actual visit, and there are many privacy, security and legal issues that yet to be solved as well. In the same cases, we'll talk about the another one, which is the give sum algorithm that used in web mining. So we'll discuss some of the algorithm that is used in that of web mining here. So let's go ahead here. Some algorithms used in web mining. In the same cases, that the first algorithm we have your sequential patterns. In the sequential pattern, if I'm talking about here, that is for although the initially proposed for the use in the market basket data, and the sequential patterns that have also been applied to a web access logs, and a sequential pattern that as applied to a web usage mining, that is to be defined as an ordered set of pages that satisfies given a support and is maximum, that is it has no subsequences, that is also frequent. An algorithm that outlines the steps that is needed to find a sequential pattern, and after the sort step of putting the data into the correct order, the remaining steps are somewhat similar to those of the a priori algorithm here. The input we have is D is equals to, that is your S1, S2, S2, SK, that is the database of the sessions and support, where the output is your sequential patterns, and sequential pattern algorithm, which is a D is sort D on user ID and time of the first page references in each session as well, and we will have to find L1 in D, and that is L is your a priori all, and that is D, S and L1 as well, that find maximal reference sequence from L as well. Let's go ahead with the second one, which is your maximal frequent sequence here. Or the maximal frequent sequence. Here that the transformation used to remove the backward reference that also loses the potentially useful information. For example, from the two forward sequence, which is AB and AC, that we could not tell whether a direct link to page C from page B that is needed, and with a maximal frequent sequence, which is MFS, all four properties that are required. And since an MFS that could potentially start with any page like click any session, and that the definition of the support assumes that the number of clicks is in the denominator combinators, and thus the support of the sequence X is to be defined as. In the same cases, that has been defined in the form of which we have, and that has been represented in frequency, that X upon that is equals to D, and which is fric, and C hashtag clicks here. So hash here clicks. So a sequence that X is a frequent if the support is above the minimum, that is your threshold, that MFS that must be maximal, and algorithm that given below, that should be the OAT, which is online adaptive traversal pattern, that algorithm that is designated to find an MFS. It utilizes a suffix tree to store the patterns, and one suffix tree is created for all sessions. Counts of patterns that are maintained in the tree, and the unique features of OAT is its ability to adapt to the available amount of the main memory. And if the suffix tree is too big to fit into memory, and it is compressed, and the algorithm continues. So in the algorithm, where the input we have S1, S2 till Sn, that is the sessions, and Smin is your minimum support threshold, and M is your main memory size as well. The output we have is your all maximal frequent sequence, which is MFS as well. And the OAT algorithm, which we have as T in an empty suffix tree and a first scan, then for I from 1 to n do, and that if the insufficient main memory with the inclusion of Si, and that compresses the suffix tree frequent to the sequence as well, if mm st union si, and that is greater than m as well. And then of course st is equals to OAT compresses, and if the update of suffix tree with the inclusion of si, and that is do the depth first traversal, and st that is an output of the MFS, and the MFS depth first, which is your st root, and if and for second scan, and if there are the sequence not completely counted, then count them in an additional scan, and where end if, and then output the MFS is the suffix tree as well. We'll talk about the third one, which is your maximal forward reference. So maximal forward reference, that the real across that is access pattern that made to get the really used pages that would not include these backward references. These assumes backward references included only because the structures of the pages, that not because they really want to do this, but the resulting set of the forward references are called maximal forward references, and they are called maximal because that they are not subsequence of the other forward references, and the set of the important references patterns that are of those that occur with a frequency above the desired threshold. And actually we are interested in finding a consecutive subsequences with the forward references, and a large reference sequence is a reference sequence which is a consecutive subsequence of a maximal forward reference that appears more than a minimum number of the times, and the minimum number threshold that is called the support algorithm. The algorithm outlines steps needed to the min-maxima reference sequence, and after the maximal forward reference that are found, a subsequence of these references that occurs greater than the required support that are identified, and those large reference sequences that are not subsequence of other large reference sequences that are found in step 3 and became the large reference sequence as well. So where input is your D, that is your S1, S2 till Sn, where the database of the sessions, and S is your support, and the output is your maximal reference sequence, and that maximal frequent forward sequence algorithm, where the find maximal forward references from the D as well, and find the large references sequences from the maximal ones, and find the maximal references sequence from the large ones as well. We'll go ahead with other one with the references that we'll discuss about the spatial here, which is the spatial mining. In a spatial mining, that is a data mining that is applied to a spatial data, and it plays an important role in an army, as that is army's strategic here, and that is the tactical and the operational planning as well. In the spatial data structure, there are the various spatial data structure with your quad tree, and of course that is your the RD tree as well. So progressive refinement, if I'm talking about that, it can be viewed as a filtering out data that are not suitable to a program and the various data structures that make use of the progressive refinement. In a spatial rules, there are the various spatial rules which are created to define the relationship between the structures of the spatial object. The first is the characteristics rule, second is your that is discriminant rule, and the third is your association rule as well. In the reference towards it, algorithm as spatial mining, we'll talk about the sting, db scan, db ce classed, and that is your sd class, and of course the decision tree. We'll talk about the approximation. It is used to find the characteristics of the clusters here, and even the aggressive proximity, which we'll talk about it, which is your, it is defined as a measure of the how close a cluster that is to feature. An aggregate of proximity relationship finds the k closest features to a cluster as well. In the same cases, we'll talk about the detailed here, which is terms of it, and that we'll have to discuss about it in the terms. Define the following terms. So here the first term is your spatial data here. So let's go ahead with the discussion about it. In terms of the spatial data here, that the spatial data are the data that have a spatial or a location component, and spatial data that can be viewed as a data about an object that themselves on located in a physical space, and a spatial data that may be accessed using a queries and containing a spatial operators such as near, north, south, and contained in us here as well. So in terms of the spatial data, as I told you about the spatial data, or the data that have a spatial or location component, and the spatial data that can be viewed as a data about the object that themselves are located in a physical space, and the spatial data may be accessed using the query containing the spatial operators such as near, north, south, and that contained in the spatial data that are stored in a spatial database, and that are contain the spatial data and non-spatial data about object, where the spatial data that are required for many current information technology system as well. Second, we'll discuss about the spatial mining. In the term of spatial mining here, that is in the spatial mining, that the spatial mining, also called as spatial data mining or knowledge discovery in a spatial database, is data mining as applied to a spatial database, or of course the spatial data. In the terms of it, that the applications of the spatial data mining that are as to be follows, like GIS system, geology, agriculture, environment, service, medicines, robotics, resource management, and the third we have is your spatial queries. These were the terms that you have to define it. Spatial queries. In the terms of the spatial queries here, that due to the complexity of the spatial operation, that more work has been performed to examine the spatial query here, and in the same cases that processing and its that optimization, and a traditional selection query assessing, which is non-spatial data that uses the standard comparison operator, which is your less than, greater than, less than, equals to, greater equals to hash as well. In the same cases, we will discuss about the spatial selection, spatial join, and map overlay, and that is the first we'll discuss about it, and that is in the spatial selection. It is a selection on spatial data that may use other selection comparison operators as well, the operation as well. And the spatial join is that a spatial joins operation that apply to a spatial relation is called a spatial join. And a map overlay, that is you're merging the disparate data that can be performed using a spatial operator that called the map overlay. And the spatial queries that can assist in the data mining activities. Some of these queries includes like region query, or a range query is a query that asking for the object that intersect a given region, and a nearest neighbor query that asks to find out the object that are close to an identified object, and a distance scan finds object within a certain distance of an identified object, but the distance is made increasingly larger. So that has been classified the partial query, as I explained it, that they had been classified into three, which is the first we have is just partial selection. The B is just partial join. Then the C we have is a map overlay. So in the same cases, now we'll go ahead to discuss about it, which is another one, which is to explain spatial data structures. In the spatial data structures here, that there we'll go ahead. In the spatial data structures here, that there are many data structures that have been designed specifically to store and index spatial data. Various structures are based on the extension to the conventional indexing approaches, such as B-tree or a binary search tree. And a common technique used to represent a spatial object is by the smallest rectangle that the complexity contain that object, and the minimum boundary rectangle, which is MBR. And one benefit of the spatial data structure is that they clusters objects based on the location, and this states that the object that have a close together in an n-dimensional space that tends to be stored, and that close together is in data structures on a disk as well. So in the same cases, that the lake, if there is a lake, then we will find let in be the MBR for the lake, and then the smaller MBRs for that lake as well. So it will be find it out in the form of MBR example. These were the consider about it. Now we'll discuss about another one, which is explain the quad R and KD tree. So that we'll have to discuss here. So in the reference towards it, which will discuss about quad tree. In the reference towards a quad tree, here the quad tree is said to be an original data structure for the spatial data, and it represents a spatial object by a hierarchical decompositions of the space into the quadrant, and as well as in the same cases, if I'm talking about here, and that is your, of course, in the same cases, that the cells and each level in the quad tree that represents that correspond to one of the hierarchical layer, and MBRs are the similar to the quadrants in the quad tree, except that they do not have to be identical sizes. That would be in the form of the triangle MBR for the triangle that had been representing here as well. Where in the same cases, that R tree will discuss about it. In the term of R tree, the one approach to indexing spatial data represents as MBRs is an R tree, and each successive layer in the tree identifies the smaller rectangles, and in an R tree, cells may actually overlap as spatial objects that are to be R tree, and it is created and maintained by algorithm similar to a B tree, and that is the algorithm to perform the spatial operator using an R tree that are relatively straightforward as well. Where in the same cases, we'll go ahead here as well, that in the terms of KD tree. In the terms of it, that is KD tree, and a KD tree was proposed to index the multi-attribute data that not necessarily spatial data, and the KD tree is a variations of a binary search tree where each level in the tree is used to index one of the attribute. Each node of a KD tree that represents a division of space into the two subset, and where a KD tree is using the same data that we used for the R tree, and as with the R tree, each lowest level cells has only one object in it, and however the divisions that are not made using the MBRs, that initially the entire region is viewed as one cell, and thus the root of the KD tree. The area is divided first along one dimensions and then along another dimensions, and until each cell has only one object in it, and in this example we see that the entire region A is first divided into two cells as well. In the same cases representing for that, that is B and C, and that is along with the horizontal axis. And then looking for the B, we see that it is divided into D, and then E and D, and then finally divided into H and I. Like it is all in the form of the tree, the KD tree. We can see that A has been represented by B and C, and then the B C is also divided into a tree form, that is on the D and E, like in the form of A is bracketed in B and C, and this B and C has been divided into two, which is in D and E, and A and C is been divided into, which is F and G, and here D is also divided into, which is H and I. So this has been representing the KD tree here, and this is a KD tree examples as well. Now we'll discuss about another one, which is an example, explain spatial data mining primitives. So that what we have to discuss here. Spatial data mining primitives. So in this, that the operations needed to support the spatial data mining that involves those required for the spatial databases. Let us assume that X and Y, that are spatial objects in the two-dimensional space, and each object that can be viewed as a consisting of a set of points in a space, which is AX and BX that belongs to X, and AY and BY that belongs to Y. So the first we have is a disjoint. In the terms of disjoint, that X is disjoint from Y if there are no points in X that are contained in Y. The second we have overlap or intersect. In overlap and intersect, X overlap with Y, and if there is at least one point in X, that is also in Y as well. The third is your equals. In the equals, that X equals Y if all the points into the two objects that are in common. The fourth is your covers or contain. In covers and contain, that X contain Y if Y is contained in X as well. The fifth we have in the last, that is your covered by or inside or contained in. So in this, that X is contained that Y if all points in X are in Y, and there may be a points in Y that are not in X. So that conclude here. Now we'll go ahead to discuss about the another thing, which is to explain generalization. And explain generalization here, that is also an important one, that what we have to discuss as well in the reference towards the generalization, and that is to be as follows. Like, the generalization is based on grouping of data and adjacent region that are merged if they have a same generalized value. For the non-spatial data, an algorithm that shows the spatial dominant approach, and a threshold that indicates that the maximum number of regions that may be given, and based on this threshold the correct level in the hierarchy is chosen, and thus the number of the regions is determined as well. In the sum of the algorithm, talking about where the input has been D, H, C and small q. So the T, capital D, is your spatial database, H is your spatial hierarchy, and C is your concept hierarchy, and a small q is a query. So the output we'll get is your capital R, which is the rule that states the general characteristics and requested the spatial data dominant algorithm as well. That we are following are the structures of H that combine the data into the region until either the desired threshold number of the regions is found, or we can say that here in the same cases, that is requested level in the H that is obtained, and for each of the region that found to then perform an attribute oriented inductions on the non-spatial attribute, and then generate and output a rule that summarizes the results found as well. Where in the same case we'll discuss about moreover related to that, the another question is, what do you mean by progressive refinement? Progressive refinement here, that due to a massive amount of data that found in the spatial application, approximate answer that may be made from finding out more accurate ones, and the use of the MBRs as a method to approximate that the shape of an object, and the quad tree or tree in that most other spatial indexing technique that using the types of progressive refinement, and the progressive refinement that can be viewed as filtering as well. Where in the same cases with the reference towards this, if I'm talking about here, and in the reference towards each one of it, that out of the data that are not applicable to perform that the problem, and with the progressively refinement and the hierarchical levels that are based on the spatial relationships as well. Where in the same cases the other question that has been arise is to discuss the sting with its algorithm, and the things with this algorithm that we had even though discussed in the last second class, last second topic that we had done here, and in the same cases that is very important here in the respect towards it. It will extend it moreover it will be taking more time to conclude this, and for that will be end up here only. And first of all, it's a huge request from my side to all the viewers, please go through with the subscribe button, and please like, share and subscribe our channel, so that many and maximum people can get the information at once, and even though you can also enjoy the video as well. And first of all, what we had covered up in the unit 1 is your unit 1, that is your data warehousing, where we had completed about overviewing and definitions, data warehouse component, building a data warehouse here, and the warehouse database, mapping the data warehouse or to a multiprocessor architecture, difference between the database and the data warehouse, multi-dimensional data models, data cubes, star, snowflakes, fact constellation, concept hierarchy, process architecture, three-tier architecture, data marting as well. In unit 2, what we had covered up here is that is the data warehouse process and technology. In this, we had covered up the warehouse strategies, warehouse management and support process, warehouse planning and implementation, hardware and operating systems for the data warehousing, client server computing model, and a data warehousing. Of course, that parallel processors in the clusters system, distributed DBMS implementation, warehousing software, warehouse schema design, data extraction, cleanup and transformation tool, and warehouse metadata as well. The other is your unit 3rd, which we have to cover up is your data mining and reduction, which is we had cover up overview, motivation, definition and functionalities, data processing, form of the data pre-processing, data cleaning, missing values, MABI, that is your noisy data, binding, clustering, regressions, computers and human inspections, inconsistent data, data integrations and transformation, data reduction, data cube aggregation, dimensionality reduction, data compression, numerosity reduction, discretizations and concept hierarchy generation, whereas the decision tree. In the unit 4, we had covered up the classification and clustering. Here we had covered up the classification, definition, data generalization, analytical characterization, analysis of attribute relevance, mining class comparison, statistical measures in the large databases, statistical based algorithm, distance based algorithm, distance tree based algorithm, clustering, introduction, similarity and distance measured, hierarchical and a partitional algorithm, hierarchical clustering, Cure and chameleon, density based method, DB scan, optics, grid based method, string click, model based method, statistical approach, association rule, introduction, large item set, basic algorithm, parallel and distributed algorithm, neural network approach as well. Where in the same case, in unit 5th, we had covered up the data visualization, which is your aggregation, historical information, query facility, OLAP functions and tools, OLAP servers, rollup, OLAP that we had done, data mining interfaces, security, backup and recovery, tuning data warehouse, testing data warehouse, warehouse applications and recent trends, types of warehousing applications, web mining, spatial mining and temporal mining. That what we have to cover up here. And after that we'll start with a very short answer type question, which is of course your that comes under each and every unit, unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4 and unit 5, all the possible short questions that we'll discuss here. Here it is a huge request from my side to all the viewers. Please go through with the subscribe button and please like, share and subscribe to our channel so that many and maximum people can get the information at once, and even though you can also enjoy the video as well. In the last that we had end up with principle of programming languages. Hopefully in the next coming two to three classes we'll end up with data warehouse and data mining, and we are doing the simultaneously with reasoning, where we had covered up the verbal reasoning and non-verbal reasoning we had started with the first topic. And other than that, we'll start with the quantitative aptitude in the next week, and the managerial economics, as well as we are doing the computer graphics as well. So you can go through with that. You will be providing each and every video whatever you required of. You can just comment it on and we'll provide you soon. So thank you. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up and give a suggestion on the comment box. Thank you.